What's up, everybody? Michael Walsh here. So today I want to talk about whether or not Ian Garry's style is doomed to fail. Okay, so what I mean by that is archetypally, what is his style? Whom does it compare to? And is he doomed to fail? Is it not a style that's gonna lead to success long term? Now, don't get me wrong, Ian Garry is a very good fighter. Ian Garry could become a champion. He could become a champion this weekend. He could lose to Islam and become a champion later on. He's only 28. Islam won't be around that much longer. I wouldn't be shocked if Garry lost, but then 2 years from now is the champion. That could happen. But there are certain things that could screw him over. And he's in a very good division where there's a lot of good fighters and there are some strong grapplers aside from Islam Makhachev. And these strong grapplers could potentially take advantage of this. So what am I getting at here? Ian Garry is an outfighter of the truest sense, okay? And it's a style that's rare, actually. There's not that many really strong examples of it. And the strong examples of it have certain ingredients that may be missing from Ian Garry's recipe. So when I say Garry is an outfighter, I don't just mean he likes to fight at a long range, because there's countless fighters who do that, right? Like Conor McGregor does that, right? But whilst these people want to fight at a farther distance, they want to fight more at kicking or jabbing range and less at in the pocket or in the clinch. Nevertheless, most long-range fighters, most long-range strikers are not outfighters in the additional sense that they have near constant evasive movement, that they are stick and move, that they are circling fighters. Quite often, outfighting strikers of the other sense aren't really trying to move all around you. They're often pressuring you, actually. They're often trying to get you backwards. Or they're sort of maintaining a certain distance, but they're not really trying to make a lot of movement happen in the cage itself in relation to you within the cage, right? They're not trying to get you backwards towards the fence, and they're not trying to move all around the cage so that you can't get near them. They're more trying to just maintain this distance right in the middle. And when we look at guys who are very elite, are strikers with very elite takedown defense, they tend not to be that kind of outfighter. Okay, you think of Robert Whittaker, you think of Jose Aldo. They're not these kind of stick and move, light on their feet, dancing around the place kinds of fighters. And the people in the past who have had the most success being true outfighters who are constantly sticking and moving and circling, they tend to have a wrestling background too, right? So Dominic Cruz is one of the best examples of this kind of outfighter, a guy who's probably not going to knock you out, a guy who's just kind of outpointing you, who's again just sticking and moving, constantly evading, but he had a good wrestling base. And so when he fought wrestlers, they couldn't just run him over. Additionally, Frankie Edgar, very much of this archetype, but is a strong grappler as well. Other outfighters of that ilk, often they didn't fight really strong wrestlers. So, for example, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, even he is not just constantly moving away and circling. He often is just sort of maintaining distance, but he does a good bit of it. And he never really fought very strong wrestlers, save for Tyron Woodley. And Tyron Woodley, A, was able to beat him, B, was able to get him down, and C, and most importantly, especially at that point in his career, he wasn't much of a wrestler. He was more of a power puncher who fought at a very low pace, right? He moved away from his wrestling and towards his punching. So on all fronts, I don't think that's a good example of this being successful. Okay. When I think of people who've tried to make this work, where they've been a striker, they've been an outfighter, and they didn't have some super deep grappling background, and they tried to leverage it against a grappler, most of the cases that come to mind, either the guy failed or it worked, but there's a lot of things that that distinguish the person it worked against from people like Islam or other elite fighters, other elite grapplers in the present day. So, like, Michael Bisping fits this archetype, right? He's a striker, he's an outfighter, he's very much a stick and move guy. Lots of circling, lots of just darting around, lots of footwork. And he's tried to make this work against certain guys, like Chael Sonnen, for example. And it's worked to a point, but he tends to lose those fights, right? He loses to Chael Sonnen, he loses to Tim Kennedy, he loses to Rashad Evans, etc. Like, it's only so effective. And he became a champion, to his credit, and he's a beloved fighter, is Bisping. But, he kind of got lucky to get that title shot. His title shot wasn't against that kind of fighter. None of his defenses were against that kind of fighter. Yeah, I mean, GSP, of course, is a terrific grappler, but there's extenuating circumstances there where GSP is the smaller guy, is old, still won the fucking fight anyway, still got Bisping down anyway. So, Bisping is not a good example of this working. A terrific example of this working is Holly Holm. Holly Holm is that kind of outfighter, and look what she did to Ronda Rousey. That's like how every outfighter hopes this shit plays out, right? That is how Ian Garry hopes his fight with Islam Makhachev is going to go, is exactly like Holm versus Rousey. But Rousey, whilst a terrific judoka, whilst a terrific armbar specialist, is just not a very good fighter overall, right? Her striking was never good. She had power, she could club you with her right hand, but that was kind of it. And her footwork was non-existent. She just charged at you in a straight line. And yeah, that sort of, if you're going to act the bull to someone else's matador, it's a lot easier to be the fucking matador, right? It's sort of like traditional martial arts, right? Like, how often do you see something like an Aikido demonstration, right? Where the person is, the uke, the dummy, the person having the technique performed upon them, is just giving this comically unrealistic or idealistic, like, forward commitment, right? Oh, they reach for you, but they really lunge at you, and oh wow, surprise, surprise, when they do that, you can like grab their arm and do something. Or, it's a knife strike, and they just really give you this telegraphed lunging thrust so that you can get offline and do something about it. Whereas if they, were doing that, it'd be a lot harder. It's similar. Like, if you're Ronda Rousey and you're fighting someone who's all about evasive angles and shit and getting offline, and you just charge in a straight line at her and waste a bunch of energy and allow her to get off the train tracks, you're going to be made to look a fool. That's how you get situations like that moment where Holm rolls underneath and gets around, and Ronda literally like swings and falls over and looks like an asshole. Like, that's how that happens. Like, someone like Islam is just never going to be in that fucking situation. Someone like, Movsar Evloev is just never going to be in that situation. You see what I'm saying? So, I don't know. Like, it's not that a striker can never develop elite takedown defense. And I'm not saying it's like, I'm not going as far as to say there's something innate about, like, fighting at long range, but with a more planted stance that, like, allows you to do that. But it is interesting that the guys who do that, the guys who are strikers with terrific takedown defense, they're not the sort of Ian Garry, Holly Holm type outfighter. And again, like, the only outfighters like that who've been really successful against strong grapplers have just also been strong grapplers. People like Cruz, people like Edgar. And we've seen other people have success, but only to a point, right? People like Thompson, people like Bisping. So, I don't know. It's an interesting one with Garry, because he's shown good takedown defense. He's shown good jiu-jitsu. He's training with Oliveira and those guys. He's training out in Georgia in preparation for his fight with Islam. But I don't know. It's a weird one. It's a weird one. Like, I don't know that he'll ever get over that hump, because he did lose to Shavkat. And granted, like, people overstate, like, the grappling success Shavkat had in that fight. He only got him down once. If Shavkat didn't get the better of the striking, he probably would have lost the fight, actually. I think Shavkat landing some good right hands did a lot to win him that fight. It's very close. He does win 4 rounds, but they're pretty close rounds. And It's not until I think he only gets one takedown in the whole fight because he fails to take him down in the clinch for most of the fight. And then he gets him with a lower body takedown in like the fourth round, and then he tries it again in the fifth and gets reversed, and Ian takes his back. So, it's not like Ian sucks in the takedown defense department, far from it, but that's also, he's fought Shavkat, where he still lost, and whereas takedown defense like held up, but he still got taken down, he still got controlled a lot. And he's fought like old man Bilal, and that's kind of it. You do wonder, like, what happens when he fights Sean Brady? What happens when he fights Yurosov Amislov? Like, what happens when these guys get matched up with him? What happens when Islam gets matched up with him, right? Does he just get revealed to be another Michael Bisping? You know what I'm saying? So I'm interested. Because it is a rare way to fight, actually. It's a rare archetype, is that, like, true outfighter. I feel like in the past we had more of them because we had this phase in the sport where Greg Jackson, who was Holly Holm's coach, seemed to be, like, steering a lot of fighters in this direction because we had these, like, windows of time where Clay Guida and Carlos Condit and guys like that were just constantly moving and doing this, like touch and go sort of low impact decision winning kind of striking, and that at the time was being very celebrated as being this like technical development, and then a lot of people called it like ruining the sport. They called Greg Jackson the sport killer and shit like that. So it feels like a thing we saw more commonly in the past, right? Like I feel like in the past strikers had more of that onus that like, holy shit, if I'm fighting a grappler, I just have to stay away from them. Whereas I think now people have a better understanding of like distance and takedown defense such that they realize like, well, I don't need to like just run around. I just need to like be at the right distance and like be mildly at the right angle. Like even Sean O'Malley, like if you watch his fight with Aljamain Sterling, like he's pressuring. He's kind of getting in Sterling's face. It's more in like the Merab fight where you see him trying to dance around, him trying to circle and move constantly. Or think of like Justin Gaethje versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. Gaethje correctly identified that Khabib is better at taking you down on the fence than he is out in the open, and Gaethje had been improving his footwork quite a bit, or his feet work as he calls it, in the lead up to that fight, but he kind of overcorrected. Like he is just desperately skirting around and trying to stay away from Khabib that whole time. And it doesn't work, right? And Gaethje has might be a little closer to someone like Edgar or Cruz in the sense that he was a fucking like all-American wrestler and has some good wrestling base, but his jiu-jitsu was so terrible that as soon as it hit the floor, Khabib just like ran him over, and finished him quickly. So again, the more I think about this, the more I think of counterexamples to this. It's just like when has this worked? Right? Like name me a fight aside from Holm Rousey where this striker, someone who's like base is striking, who has this kind of point scoring, tippy tap outfighter approach where they're constantly moving and circling and trying to stay far away. Name me a time where someone like that has beaten like a really competent smothering grappler. I'm struggling to think of one. So I don't know that bodes well for Garry going into this fight. I don't know if it bodes well for Garry just kind of period. I don't know that it bodes well for him becoming an all-time great fighter. I could still see him winning the title. I could see him winning this weekend. I could see him winning down the road. And if he wins this weekend, then that's going to silence a lot of these doubts, of course, because this is the exact kind of matchup that would challenge this, right? But I guess my point, though, is that whilst he could remain like a perennial contender, whilst he could even get the belt at some point or another, this feels like something where his style might not be built to just like go undefeated for huge stretches of time, to just reign over a division, because it feels not well built necessarily to beat that kind of grappler. So those are my thoughts on that. Let me know what you think down below. Not making like a definitive ruling here. This is just something I was thinking about because Islam hasn't fought a lot of outfighters of that ilk. I mean, the nearest is like Dan Hooker. because Hooker was actually like trying to get on his bike right away and just kind of jab and move. But aside from that, not much. Like Cajun Johnson, some people have thrown out to me, and I did go back and rewatch that fight. And that fight is like so long ago, it's hard to make much of it. Cajun is doing an okay job sticking and moving, but he barely throws anything. It's very much like he kind of seems like a guy who's just afraid to like engage more than anything. So, and Islam does just beat him really quickly. So I don't know. It's hard to know what to make of that one. As meaningful evidence one way or the other, like meaningful evidence that, oh yeah, Islam can totally handle this approach, or, that like Cajun represented like that approach done properly or anything. So, and that fight was so long ago, I don't know. But regardless, let me know what you think down below. Let me know if you've got other examples of outfighters who have made this work, or outfighters who are very good but failed when they got this kind of matchup. Let me know. Like if you have not, subscribe if you have not, check out my other YouTube channel if you have not. It's called Michael Walsh Nerd Stuff. I will link it down in the description box. On that channel, I talk about nerd stuff. I talk about comic books, video games, anime, sci-fi, all that kind of shit. Done some videos recently about Spider-Man Brand New Day that are starting to get some traction, so if that tickles your fancy, go check it out. If not, no worries, just stick around here. But in any case, take care.